Welcome back to Secrets Behind the Stars, the place where we navigate the whispers, the aching pauses, and the unlikely turns in the lives of Turkey's most talked about names. Before we open today's chapter, take a second to subscribe and tap the join button so you can support what we do behind the scenes. Settle in, because what follows is a story braided from pride, quiet longing, and the delicate courage it takes to reach for something that once slipped away. For weeks, a fine mist of speculation drifted across timelines and comment sections. It wasn't concrete enough to be called news, and yet it carried a weight that kept fans checking, refreshing, reading between lines. Then came the spark that set everything humming, a post from Yağmur that felt less like content and more like a confession delivered without names. It was just a picture, clean, simple, contemplative, and a single line that struck like a bell in a silent room. There are hushes that roar beyond any sentence. No references to a person, no tagged account, no obvious time-stamped memory. Yet to those who had watched her journey, nothing felt ambiguous at all. Her followers understood the space she was gesturing toward, the absence shaped like someone familiar, the pause that pointed straight to one man in particular. From that moment, every breadcrumb led toward the same destination, a possible second act with Barış Baktas. The clues were delicate but persistent. Observers unearthed old interviews that suddenly felt charged, glances that once seemed professional now replayed as secret alcoves of feeling, offhand comments that had aged into something like coded messages. Fans mapped out likes that returned with an almost ceremonial restraint, and whispers began to form into stories of private meetings that couldn't be dismissed as mere chance. The fandom that had first fallen for them as on-screen partners shifted, almost imperceptibly, into a crowd waiting to see whether life would imitate drama. The hope was not for an instant headline, but for an honest rekindling, two people reaching toward each other not in a script, but in the unguarded reality after the lights switch off. And then the thread took an unexpected turn. It didn't come from a publicist, a producer, or a friend eager to leak. It came from someone who had always chosen the farthest chair from the spotlight, Barış's father. A family acquaintance, careful with words, revealed that the usually reticent man decided to break his usual silence after noticing a familiar shadow returning to his son's face. Measured, gentle, and unwavering, he asked Barış to join him for a private conversation away from every eye. No speeches. No dramatics. Just a parent who had learned enough from life to know when to push and when to remind. He didn't talk to a celebrity, he spoke to his child. Love is not a traveler who visits for a night and vanishes. Letting pride stand guard at your heart only keeps happiness outside the door. If she still has a place inside you, do not watch what you built fall twice. I saw the light in you when she was there, and I saw the quiet in you when she wasn't. Those who know the rhythm of the family say that after those words landed, Barış didn't respond. At least not with sound. His stillness did the talking, the way stillness often means more than a flurry of explanations. That silence seemed to echo the delicate line in Yağmur's post. A few hours later, late enough that streetlights took over, the first sighting emerged. He was seen near the building where Yağmur lives, drawn into the margin of the night by a cap, discreet sunglasses, and a bouquet held like a promise. Witnesses described him as both unsettled and certain, like someone who'd finally decided which part of himself to trust. Whether he walked in as a friend sifting through memories, as a man ready to say sorry, or as someone brave enough to ask for a beginning instead of a redo, no one knows. But the image of him waiting there with flowers carried its own meaning, one that didn't need a caption. By morning, the quiet gained companions. Yağmur returned to her feed with a new line that sounded less like a reply and more like a continuation of the same message sung in a different key. When a heartbeat stirs again, it's usually because it never really fell silent. The internet didn't just react, it surged. Comment threads filled with people who had watched these two grow apart and wondered whether they might gently find each other again. The hunger wasn't for scandal or drama, but for the bravery of soft things, a conversation after pride, a hand extended without bargaining, a second chance earned rather than declared. Reporters mobilized. Headlines tumbled toward conclusions, most of them pointing at the same thing. A bridge being rebuilt plank by plank, this time guided not only by chemistry but by a father's seasoned wisdom. A journalist caught sight of Barış outside a recording studio and, in a rare moment, he didn't run from the question hovering in the air. He looked up and offered a sentence that seemed to drop anchor on the speculation. Sometimes you need someone to show you, again, what truly has weight. He didn't embellish, didn't elaborate, and yet the line was enough to make guesswork feel like certainty. When it was Yağmur's turn, it happened in a place that fit her, a charity event, where cameras are present but the purpose is larger than a headline. Microphones leaned in, and everyone waited for a definitive declaration that they wouldn't receive. Instead, she delivered a small smile and words that felt like balm. Certain conversations repair what time on its own cannot. And certain people don't really leave, they simply wait at the edge of our days. It wasn't a promise, and it wasn't a denial. It was the kind of statement that invites the heart to breathe while refusing to perform intimacy for applause. As the digital world spun faster, a single phrase started appearing everywhere, Barış and Yağmur again, no symbol attached, just the idea spreading from account to account like a humming chorus. It wasn't presented as a rumor but as a wish shared by thousands who'd been there the first time and were now ready to hold their breath for whatever came next. People didn't ask for perfection, they asked for sincerity. Then came a voice that mattered to those who love from close range. Words slipped out that Yağmur's mother didn't press her daughter with warnings or limits. She encouraged her to listen, truly listen, to what was being offered. A friend close to the family recalled her advice as simple but fearless. If he knocks without pride, if what he carries is clean and honest, perhaps a story pause does not need to end there. Not every farewell demands a final door. It was the kind of counsel that doesn't make choices easier, but does make the path feel less lonely. A few days later, a quiet restaurant just outside Istanbul added a memory to its walls that only a few noticed. They arrived alone. No managers, no assistants, no friends waiting to fill silences with chatter. The waiter, who spoke about the evening with the careful respect of someone who knows he witnessed something delicate, said it felt like a scene without cameras. He described them as two people laughing softly, meeting each other at the exact place where comfort and awkwardness hold hands. He remembered the way they ordered what had once been theirs. Mint tea warming the table, lentil soup like a ritual from a gentler time. He saw eye contact that didn't flinch, pauses that didn't panic, and words that didn't rush to define. He sounded a little protective as he talked about them, as if even recounting it required gentleness. Neither of them posted a selfie or left a caption designed to trend. Instead, their language remained the kind that travels well beneath noise. That night, Barış shared a photo of a sky full of small, stubborn lights and wrote, "Some choices don't obey logic. They rise from where the heart keeps its quiet map." Minutes later, as if composing a harmony, Yağmur added her own message, "Some hearts keep time with each other even when no music is playing." Their followers needed nothing else. Two short lines, like two hands finding each other in a cinema where no one dares to speak. Television panels pounced on the narrative, but many of them surprised viewers by choosing grace. Commentators reminded everyone that love doesn't happen in the public eye alone and that the strongest bonds are often supported by those who stand behind the curtain. They praised the role of both families, adults who had been careful not to meddle but who stepped in at the right moment to shield, to nudge, to remind. It wasn't a story about celebrity theatrics. It was about the patient protection of something worth protecting. Days passed, and the man who prefers to keep his heart quiet let it tell a little more truth. Appearing on a cultural podcast known more for literature than for gossip, Barış was asked about love in the way hosts ask without asking. He took a breath and offered a confession without the drama of confessions. You can sidestep many things, tasks, old photos, even the mirror on a hard morning. But if love has taken root in your life, you cannot outrun it. You can only delay meeting it again until you are willing to be brave. It was a rare window into the private space he usually locks, and listeners felt it immediately. Not long after, a talk show host asked Yağmur a question everyone already knew, framing it kindly. She was serene, almost lyrical, choosing words the way you choose a dress meant to last. "Some stories don't end with a period," she said. Life is fond of leaving ellipses where our fear would place a stop. Those 3 dots are an invitation to write what we could not finish the first time. The audience applause felt less like noise and more like gratitude for a woman who refuses to sensationalize what matters. As the dust settled into something closer to clarity, one truth became undeniable. Whether they are rebuilding their life together or simply 2 people exploring each other with new honesty, their steps are lighter than rumor but heavier than a fling. They are choosing to walk outside the beam of cameras and inside a circle formed by many hearts. The city moves around them, the cafes, the sets, the studios, the traffic. But in that movement there is a path that belongs to them, guarded by the quiet hope of those who remember how it felt the first time and are rooting, gently, for the second. Before we close this chapter here on Secrets Behind the Stars, we want to hear you. Do you think Barış and Yağmur are ready to write the part of their story that got left in the margins? Can a second chance soften the edges of the past without erasing it? Tell us what you believe in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and tap join if you want to help us keep bringing you the stories that stir, surprise, and move you. Stay close, because some romances never fully fall silent. They keep a hidden beat, waiting for the moment when 2 people finally admit they can hear it again.